Hello everybody, John Stiles here with Bridge Realty. The date is almost January 31st, 2020, and that means your CRP forms are due in the mail very soon. Now, if you've done these before, they're really easy to fill out, so they are pretty self-explanatory. But for anybody that's kind of new to this or just wanting a little bit of help, I wanted to go through a quick tutorial about how to fill out these forms and also just point out what's different about them. I have made a video about these before a couple of years ago, and there's a few changes. So my video last time is obsolete now. So I just wanted to update the information and hopefully it'd be helpful to somebody. I do want to clarify this is not legal or tax advice, but just kind of walking you through the form and the information that's available to you. So let's take a look. So here's the MN 2019 CRP form. And if you type exactly that into Google, the form should come up pretty quickly. Otherwise, I'll go ahead and put a link to it in the notes below. But basically, you go to the form. I do recommend that you download it to your computer, and this allows you to view it in Acrobat, Adobe Acrobat, and then you can fill it out right there on your computer. So fill in the renter's name and all the information. Quick note before I forget, once you've filled it out, go ahead and save that version to your computer. And that way, if you ever have to go back to it and adjust something, correct something, you don't have to fill it all out again. You can go back to your form that has most of the information filled out, just change the one item that you need to change, and voila, there you go. So fill it out, the rental unit information, beginning and end date of the lease, when they were there, total months rented. There's a couple of check boxes there you can fill out if applicable. You put on the property ID number, number of units at the property, was any of the rent paid by medical assistance, so a couple of different check boxes. And then here's where it's a little bit different from last year. There's 3 line items to fill out. There's the gross rent that the tenant's supposed to pay. Then there's the caretaker rent reduction. So if you've reduced the rent for lawn care, snow removal, cleaning, anything like that, go ahead and put that amount in there. And then the total rent paid goes right here. Of course, you fill in the property owner name and address here, and you sign it. So again, once you've filled this out, save a separate version for each tenant, each resident that you're sending these to, so that you can refer back to it in case you need to update something. One thing that's different, actually a couple of things here. I have the 2018 form right here, just as a point of reference. So you see that in the past they made us landlords do math. So we had to calculate that rent times 17% and then figure out the bottom amount there. Now we don't have to do math to be landlords. So all you have to do is, well, I guess there is some rent here if you reduce the amount by a caretaker reduction. So do a little bit of subtraction, but we don't have to do multiplication, so that's nice. Another thing that's interestingly different is in the past we had to fill out one of these forms for each residence, and we counted married couples. Here it says give a form to each unmarried renter, which means if they are a married renter, they get 1 for the both of them. So this is different in the 2019 form. You actually need to give a married person two copies or 2 different forms, separating the rent accordingly. So each married person would get a separate CRP. So that's a different protocol there. Now there are instructions about this form, so if you have any questions, you can go ahead and look up Minnesota CRP Instructions. It'll bring you to this form here. Again, I'll put a link to this in the notes, but it explains if you need to provide a CRP and what constitutes rent. So if you're confused about what type of rent to include or what type of income to include in this and what not to include, for example, damage deposits, late charges, and emergency assistance is not considered rent. So that's good to note there. And then there's some more details here, pretty straightforward and easy to understand. So again, the form for 2019 has been updated. I also recommend that once you've printed and signed this, that you scan in a new copy. So that way, if a tenant comes back to you and says, hey, I lost my CRP, can I have another copy? You don't have to fill it out again. You don't have to sign it again. You just print what you've signed and filled out, and there you go. It's ready to go. So hopefully this information is helpful to somebody out there. If you have any questions, feel free to comment below. And I hope that this was beneficial to you. Take care. See you next time.